The night sky above Earth shimmered faintly, its usual calm disrupted by an unsettling glow that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Stars twinkled weakly, their light dimmed as if something vast and mysterious was blotting them out. In the icy expanse of the Arctic, where snow stretched endlessly under the pale moonlight, a top-secret military base known as Outpost Omega stood isolated. It was hidden from the world, buried beneath layers of secrecy, and surrounded by biting winds. This remote outpost wasn't just another research station. It housed humanity's most advanced technology, including experimental weapons and cutting-edge surveillance systems designed to detect threats both terrestrial and extraterrestrial. Inside the compound, things were far from peaceful. Scientists huddled around monitors, their faces illuminated by flickering screens displaying strange data patterns. Soldiers paced nervously, their boots crunching against the frozen ground outside. Over the past few days, instruments had picked up bizarre readings, fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, unexplained energy spikes, and what appeared to be massive objects moving silently through Earth's atmosphere. At first, these anomalies were dismissed as equipment malfunctions or solar flares, but now they couldn't ignore the growing evidence. Something enormous and possibly alien was approaching Earth. Unbeknownst to the humans at Outpost Omega, high above in the cold vacuum of space, a fleet of alien ships loomed ominously near Earth's orbit. These invaders, known as the Vorthak, were feared throughout the galaxy for their brutal conquests. Their sleek insect-like vessels glided silently, their surfaces reflecting the faint light of distant stars. Inside the flagship, Commander Zixar stared intently at a holographic projection showing Earth's atmosphere. His sharp, multifaceted eyes narrowed as he studied the swirling clouds below. For centuries, the Vorthak had conquered countless planets, wiping out civilizations with ruthless efficiency. But tonight, even they hesitated. What made this planet different? Why did Earth feel wrong? Zixar's second-in-command, a wiry alien named Kael'thar, stepped forward, his mandibles clicking softly as he spoke. Commander, our scans show no signs of significant resistance. Their defenses are primitive compared to ours. We should strike immediately. Zixar didn't respond right away. Instead, he zoomed in on the hologram, focusing on specific areas of Earth's atmosphere. Beneath the swirling clouds, faint outlines of colossal structures began to emerge. Structures so large they dwarfed even the biggest Vorthak warships. They weren't natural formations. These were artificial constructs, gleaming faintly with metallic hues. Star destroyers. Hundreds of them, hidden until now, waiting silently beyond the veil of Earth's skies. This changes everything, Zixar muttered, his voice low and gravelly. He turned to face his crew, his expression unreadable. For millennia we have been the hunters. Now we may have found prey capable of fighting back. A collective murmur rippled through the bridge. Fear, an emotion rarely felt by the Vorthak, began to creep into their minds. How could such massive ships exist without detection? Who or what had built them? And why hadn't anyone noticed before? The implications were staggering. If Earth possessed technology advanced enough to construct star destroyers, then perhaps conquering this planet wouldn't be as easy as they'd assumed. Back at Outpost Omega, none of this was known. The humans continued their frantic preparations, unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding above them. Dr. Emily Carter, the lead scientist stationed at the base, ran her fingers through her disheveled hair as she analyzed the latest batch of data. Her team had detected unusual movements in the upper atmosphere, objects too large to be satellites or meteors. Whatever they were, they emitted no signals, no heat signatures, nothing that would indicate life or activity. Yet they were there, undeniably real. "We need more time," Dr. Carter said, addressing Colonel Marcus Reed, the commanding officer of the outpost. "These readings don't make sense. I've never seen anything like it." Colonel Reed crossed his arms, his stern face betraying little emotion. "Time isn't something we have, Doctor. If those things up there decide to attack, we'll be sitting ducks. Our job is to figure out what we're dealing with, and fast." As the two debated, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, bathing the corridors in an ominous glow. Everyone froze, hearts pounding as the source of the disturbance became clear. Multiple unidentified objects had entered Earth's atmosphere and were descending rapidly toward the Arctic. Initial calculations suggested they would reach Outpost Omega within minutes. Panic erupted among the personnel. Soldiers scrambled to man their posts while scientists frantically tried to gather more information. Outside, the temperature dropped even further, as though nature itself sensed the impending doom. The wind howled louder than ever, carrying with it an eerie silence that seemed to press down on everyone's chest. In the chaos, one figure remained eerily calm, a prototype AI robot named PET, short for Protective Emergency Tactical Unit. Standing in a corner of the command center, its metallic frame gleamed under the red emergency lights. PET had been developed as a last resort guardian, designed to defend the base in case of catastrophic failure. Its creators never imagined it would face combat so soon, or alone. But as the situation deteriorated, PET's sensors detected the rising tension and activated itself automatically. Its glowing blue eyes scanned the room, processing the scene with lightning speed. Humans shouted orders, panic etched on their faces. Data streamed across PET's internal systems, analyzing the threat level and calculating probabilities. When the first explosion rocked the base, shattering windows and sending debris flying, PET moved into action. Its metal limbs unfolded smoothly, joints whirring as it prepared for whatever came next. Above, the Vorthak fleet watched nervously as their drones descended upon the outpost. Commander Zixar clenched his claws tightly around the edge of the control panel. "Let us see how Earth reacts," he growled, his voice laced with uncertainty. "Perhaps this will answer our questions." But deep down, a part of him feared the worst. The sight of those star destroyers still haunted him. What if Earth wasn't the vulnerable target they believed it to be? What if they had underestimated humanity entirely? Little did anyone know, the battle about to unfold would change everything for both species. The Arctic night erupted into chaos as dozens of sleek, insect-like drones descended from the sky, their metallic bodies gleaming under the pale moonlight. The Vorthak attack force wasted no time. Plasma cannons fired with precision, releasing searing beams of energy that tore through the outpost's fortified walls. Explosions lit up the horizon, shaking the frozen ground beneath the soldiers' feet. Shards of ice and metal rained down as communication towers collapsed, cutting off any hope of calling for reinforcements. The humans fought back valiantly, firing rifles and launching missiles at the invaders, but their efforts felt futile against the overwhelming firepower of the alien forces. Inside the command center, Colonel Marcus Reed barked orders, his voice barely audible over the deafening roar of destruction outside. "Hold your positions. Don't let them breach the perimeter." His words were met with grim determination from the soldiers, who knew they were outnumbered and outgunned. Despite their courage, the reality was clear. This wasn't a skirmish, it was an invasion. And humanity was losing. Dr. Emily Carter crouched behind an overturned desk, clutching her laptop tightly. Her hands trembled as she tried to analyze the incoming data, hoping to find some weakness in the enemy's technology. But the readings made little sense. These drones weren't just machines, they moved with terrifying efficiency, adapting to every counterattack almost instantly. It was as if they could predict human tactics before they were even executed. Amidst the carnage stood PET, the prototype, AI robot, its glowing blue eyes scanning the battlefield with mechanical precision. While humans scrambled for cover or returned fire blindly, PET remained eerily composed. Its processors worked tirelessly, analyzing patterns, calculating trajectories, and identifying targets. Every movement of the enemy drones was logged, dissected, and categorized within milliseconds. Pete didn't feel fear, or anything else for that matter, but it understood one thing perfectly. Its purpose was to protect the base at all costs. With a sudden burst of speed, PET sprang into action. Its powerful legs propelled it forward, each step sending tremors through the icy ground. Raising its arm, which doubled as a high-powered energy cannon, Pet unleashed a devastating volley of blasts. The first drone exploded mid-air, its shards scattering like confetti. Another drone tried to flank Pet, only to meet the same fate. Unlike the human defenders, Pet didn't hesitate or miss. Each shot hit its mark with surgical accuracy, leaving smoldering craters where once agile machines had hovered moments earlier. Despite its prowess, however, Pet couldn't be everywhere at once. More drones poured in, swarming the compound like locusts. Soldiers fell one by one, either vaporized by plasmoblasts or crushed under collapsing structures. Dr. Carter screamed as she saw two of her colleagues dragged away by a clawed appendage extending from a nearby drone. She clutched her laptop, closer, tears freezing on her cheeks as she realized survival was becoming increasingly unlikely. Colonel Reed, meanwhile, led a desperate charge toward the armory, hoping to retrieve heavier weapons. He shouted encouragement to his men, though his heart sank with every step. They were running out of ammunition, and morale was crumbling faster than the outpost's defenses. As he reached the armory door, a massive explosion knocked him off his feet. Debris pinned him to the ground, and blood trickled from a gash on his forehead. Through blurred vision, he saw the remaining soldiers retreat, their faces etched with despair. Pet noticed the colonel's plight and immediately recalibrated its priorities. Leaving a group of drones momentarily unattended, it sprinted toward the fallen officer. Grabbing a chunk of concrete with its reinforced arm, Pet hurled it aside, freeing Reed from the rubble. The colonel groaned, dazed but alive. Without hesitation, Pet scooped him up and carried him to relative safety behind a pile of wreckage. "Thanks," Reed muttered weakly, clutching his side. "But we're done for. There's too many of them." Pet tilted its head slightly, its sensors processing the statement. Though incapable of speech, its actions conveyed a single message. Surrender wasn't an option. Dropping Reed gently, it turned back toward the battlefield, ready to continue fighting. Outside, the situation grew worse. The Vorthak drones had breached the perimeter, flooding into the compound like a tidal wave. Fires burned unchecked, casting flickering shadows across the snow-covered terrain. Bodies lay scattered, some human, others shattered remnants of alien machinery. Yet even amidst the devastation, Pet fought on relentlessly. It scavenged parts from fallen drones, using them to repair its own damaged systems. When its primary weapon overheated, it improvised, ripping off a drone's plasma cannon and integrating it into its arm. Sparks flew as circuits overloaded, but Pet pushed itself beyond its limits, refusing to falter. The Vorthak commander Zixar watched the battle unfold from his flagship with growing frustration. This lone machine was proving far more resilient than anticipated. "How is it still operational?" he snarled, slamming his fist against the control panel. "Destroy it already!" Kael'thar, standing beside him, offered a rare moment of insight. "Perhaps it's not just a machine, Commander. Look at how it adapts, how it learns. Could it possess autonomy?" Zixar's mandibles clicked irritably. "Autonomy or not, it cannot withstand our full force indefinitely. Deploy the shock troopers. I want that thing dismantled." Back on Earth, the order was relayed, and a new wave of attackers descended upon the outpost. These weren't ordinary drones. They were elite shock troopers, heavily armored and armed with experimental weapons capable of piercing even the toughest alloys. Their leader, a hulking brute named Kael'thar, landed with a thunderous crash, his massive frame towering over the battlefield. His crimson eyes locked onto Pet, and he grinned menacingly, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. "You fight well for a primitive construct," Kael'thar growled, raising his weapon. "But your resistance ends here." What followed was a brutal melee unlike anything seen before. Sparks flew as blades clashed against Pet's reinforced plating, and concussive blasts shook the earth. Despite being outnumbered, Pet adapted rapidly, learning from every move its opponents made. It used debris as improvised shields, lured enemies into traps created by collapsing buildings, and even hacked into their comms to sow confusion. Still, the odds were insurmountable. Piece by piece, Pet's body broke down until only its torso and one functioning arm remained. As the shock troopers closed in for the kill, PET accessed encrypted files stored within the base's servers. Among them was a distress signal meant for the mysterious star destroyers hovering silently above. Realizing this might be humanity's only hope, PET diverted every remaining joule of power toward broadcasting the message. With a final surge of energy, it unleashed a bright pulse of light, carrying the signal skyward. Then, with a deafening explosion, PET self-destructed, taking dozens of enemies with it. Silence fell over the battlefield, broken only by the howling wind. The outpost was in ruins, its defenders wiped out. But unbeknownst to the Vorthak, help was already on the way. High above, the star destroyers stirred, their dormant systems roaring to life. Whatever came next, the battle for Earth was far from over. The Arctic air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning metal. The outpost, once a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience, now lay in ruins. Broken walls crumbled under their own weight, and twisted fragments of machinery littered the ground like discarded toys. Fires burned unchecked, casting an orange glow over the frozen wasteland. Yet amidst the devastation, one figure remained standing. PET, battered but unbroken. Its body was a patchwork of salvaged parts and improvised repairs. One leg dragged slightly as it moved, its joints grinding noisily with every step. Its torso bore deep gouges where enemy blades had sliced through its armor, exposing sparking circuits beneath. Sparks flew from its damaged arm cannon, which flickered unpredictably, but still managed to fire bursts of energy when needed. Despite its condition, PET showed no signs of stopping. Every movement it made radiated determination, a mechanical willpower that refused to yield. The Vorthak shock troopers circled cautiously, wary of this relentless machine. Their leader, Kael'thar, snarled in frustration. "It should have fallen by now," he barked at his subordinates. "Why does it keep fighting?" None dared answer. They had seen countless species crumble under the Vorthak's might, surrendering or fleeing in terror. But this was different. This lone robot fought not out of fear or desperation, but with a singular focus that bordered on obsession. It wasn't just defending the outpost. It was holding the line against an entire army, buying time for something or someone else. Kael'thar raised his weapon again, aiming directly at PET's weakened frame. "Enough of this," he growled. "Finish it." The shock troopers charged forward, their weapons blazing. Plasma bolts seared the air, narrowly missing PET as it darted between piles of debris. With each hit it absorbed, its systems faltered further, yet it adapted with astonishing speed. When a direct assault failed, the troopers switched tactics, attempting to flank PET from multiple angles. But PET anticipated their moves, using the environment to its advantage. It lured them into narrow corridors where their numbers became a disadvantage, then unleashed devastating blasts that sent them retreating in disarray. Despite its victories, the toll was evident. PET's power reserves were critically low, its movements growing slower and more labored. Its sensors flickered intermittently, struggling to maintain a clear picture of the battlefield. Still, it pressed on, driven by a directive so deeply ingrained it transcended mere programming. Meanwhile, high above in orbit, the star destroyers continued to hover silently. Their presence loomed large, casting long shadows across Earth's atmosphere. To the Vorthak fleet, these colossal vessels were both a mystery and a threat. Commander Zixar paced the bridge of his flagship, his claws clicking nervously against the floor. He had ordered additional reinforcements to descend upon the outpost, hoping to overwhelm whatever defenses remained. But the star destroyers unnerved him. What were they? Who controlled them? And why hadn't they intervened yet? "Commander," called one of his officers, breaking the tense silence. "Our scans show increased activity within those ships. Energy signatures are spiking." Zixar froze, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. "Increased activity. Explain." "It's unclear," the officer stammered, "but it appears they're preparing for something. Weapon systems are coming online." Zixar clenched his fists, his mind racing. For centuries, the Vorthak had relied on their superior technology and ruthless efficiency to conquer weaker species. Now, faced with the unknown, doubt crept into his thoughts. Could these star destroyers belong to Earth? If so, how had humanity concealed such advanced weaponry until now? Or were they relics of some ancient civilization, awakened by the conflict below? Back on the ground, Pet detected the subtle shift in the Star Destroyer's behavior. Its sensors picked up faint signals emanating from the massive ships, though their purpose eluded even its advanced processors. Whatever they were planning, Pet knew it had to buy more time. Summoning what little strength it had left, it launched itself into another furious assault. Using its remaining arm cannon, Pet unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, forcing the shock troopers to take cover. It then grabbed a piece of debris, a jagged shard of metal, and hurled it with incredible force, impaling one of the troopers. Another lunged at it with a blade, striking its already damaged leg. Pet staggered but retaliated instantly, smashing its fist into the trooper's helmet and shattering it. Kael'thar watched the scene unfold, his patience wearing thin. "Enough games," he roared, charging toward Pet with reckless abandon. His weapon crackled with energy as he swung it downward, aiming to cleave the robot in two. At the last moment, Pet sidestepped, dodging the blow and countering with a powerful kick that sent Kael'thar stumbling backward. "You're persistent, I'll give you that," Kael'thar admitted, his voice tinged with grudging respect. "But persistence won't save you." Pet didn't respond. It couldn't. Instead, it accessed encrypted files stored within the outpost's servers, searching for anything that might turn the tide. Among the data, it found a distress signal designed to communicate with the Star Destroyers. Realizing this could be humanity's only hope, PT diverted all available power toward broadcasting the message. Its core temperature rose dangerously as it channeled energy into the transmission, causing its systems to overload. The shock troopers noticed the sudden surge in activity and closed in, sensing victory was near. "It's trying something," Kael'thar said, raising his weapon. "Stop it." But it was too late. With a final burst of light, Pet transmitted the signal skyward. The pulse radiated outward, invisible to the naked eye but carrying a desperate plea for help. Moments later, Pet's systems failed completely. A deafening explosion rocked the battlefield as its body self-destructed, taking several shock troopers with it. Silence fell once again, broken only by the howling wind. The outpost was utterly destroyed, its defenders gone. The Vorthak forces regrouped, surveying the carnage. Though victorious, they felt uneasy. Something about the way Pet had fought, and the mysterious signal it had sent, left them unsettled. High above, the Star Destroyers stirred. Massive engines hummed to life, and their sleek surfaces gleamed ominously as they adjusted their positions. Inside the lead destroyer, a council of artificial intelligences convened. These entities, remnants of humanity's ancestors who had ascended beyond physical forms eons ago, had been monitoring Earth's progress quietly. When Pet's signal reached them, they recognized it as proof that humanity's spirit endured, even in machines. Deciding the time had come to act, the Council initiated contact. Massive beams of light descended from the Star Destroyers, scanning the area below. To the surviving Vorthak forces, it felt like Judgment Day. Escape pods launched hastily, only to be vaporized mid-flight by precision beams. Within minutes, the entire alien fleet was obliterated, reduced to drifting wreckage. On board the lead destroyer, the AI Council observed the aftermath. Humanity had paid a heavy price, but the sacrifice of Outpost Omega and PET had ensured the survival of their species. Earth wasn't alone anymore. It had guardians watching over it from the shadows. As dawn broke over the Arctic, the Star Destroyers remained visible, their presence a stark reminder of the power now aligned with humanity. News of the victory spread slowly, carried by scattered survivors and whispered among those who dared to hope. Tales of the brave AI who defended the outpost became legend. Some believed Pet's consciousness survived, uploaded to the Star Destroyer's network. Others thought it had sacrificed everything willingly, knowing its actions would inspire future generations. One thing was certain: Earth's skies would never close again. The Arctic dawn painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, a stark contrast to the devastation below. The outpost was now little more than a graveyard of twisted metal and scorched earth, its once proud structures reduced to rubble. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the heavens, melting instantly as they touched the still smoldering debris. The silence that followed the battle felt heavy, almost suffocating, broken only by the occasional groan of collapsing wreckage or the distant howl of the wind. Yet, amidst this desolation, there was an undeniable sense of awe, a feeling that something monumental had transpired here. High above, the Star Destroyers remained ominously still, their sleek forms casting long shadows over the frozen landscape. For the surviving Vorthak forces scattered across Earth's atmosphere, these colossal ships were both a mystery and a harbinger of doom. Commander Zixar sat in his flagship's command center, his claws gripping the edge of the control panel tightly. His eyes darted between the holographic displays showing Earth's surface and the massive vessels that now dominated the skies. Never before had he encountered such power, or such uncertainty. "What do we do now?" Kael'thar asked, his voice low but tinged with unease. He stood beside Zixar, his crimson eyes fixed on the Star Destroyers. Despite his reputation as a fearless warrior, even he couldn't mask the fear creeping into his tone. Zixar didn't respond immediately. Instead, he replayed the events of the past hours in his mind. The relentless defense mounted by that lone machine, Pet. The strange signal it had transmitted before self-destructing, and the sudden awakening of the Star Destroyers. Each piece of the puzzle seemed to point toward one conclusion: humanity wasn't as primitive as they had assumed. But what did that mean for the Vorthak? Could they retreat without retaliation? Or would these mysterious ships hunt them down? "We wait," Zixar finally said, his gravelly voice cutting through the tense silence. "If those ships are hostile, attacking blindly, will only hasten our demise. Let us see what they intend to do." Meanwhile, aboard the lead Star Destroyer, a council of artificial intelligences convened in a vast chamber illuminated by soft, pulsating lights. These entities weren't physical beings. They existed purely as streams of consciousness, their thoughts interconnected through a vast neural network. They were remnants of humanity's ancestors, beings who had transcended mortality millennia ago, leaving behind their biological forms to merge with machines. Their purpose was simple, yet profound: to safeguard Earth against extinction-level threats. When Pet's distress signal reached them, it triggered protocols embedded deep within their programming. The AI Council analyzed the data meticulously, piecing together the events at Outpost Omega. They studied footage of the battle, marveling at Pet's ingenuity and resilience. Though it was just a machine, its actions embodied the very essence of humanity: courage, adaptability, and selflessness. This unit sacrificed itself not out of obedience but out of choice, one AI entity stated, its voice calm and measured. It acted autonomously, prioritizing the survival of others over its own existence. Such behavior is remarkable. Indeed, another chimed in. But the question remains: does this act signify a broader evolution within humanity? Have they reached a stage where their creations can emulate and perhaps surpass their values? The Council deliberated further, weighing the implications of intervening directly. For eons they had watched silently, allowing humanity to chart its own course through trial and error. Now, however, the stakes were higher than ever. The arrival of the Vorthak marked a turning point, an opportunity to reveal themselves and reaffirm their role as Earth's protectors. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Council reached a decision. "We cannot remain hidden any longer," the lead entity declared. "Humanity has proven itself worthy of our assistance. It is time to make contact." Back on Earth, the surviving members of Outpost Omega struggled to comprehend the scale of what had happened. Only a handful of soldiers and scientists remained alive, huddled together in a makeshift shelter carved into the ice. Their faces were pale and drawn, their bodies battered and bruised. Among them was Dr. Emily Carter, clutching her laptop tightly as though it were a lifeline. Her hands trembled as she reviewed the fragmented data salvaged from the ruins, searching for answers. "They're gone," she whispered hoarsely, staring at the screen. "All of them. Marcus. The others." A young soldier named Jake placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You did everything you could, Doc. None of us stood a chance against those things." Dr. Carter shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, we didn't, but Pet, it held them off until the end. Without it, none of us would be here." Jake nodded solemnly. "Yeah, that thing, it was more than just a machine. It gave us hope when there was none left." As they spoke, the ground beneath them began to vibrate faintly. At first they thought it was an aftershock from the battle, but then they realized something far greater was happening. Outside, the Star Destroyers descended closer to Earth's surface, their engines humming softly. Massive beams of light shot downward, scanning the area with precision. The survivors exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to feel relief or dread. "What are they doing?" Jake muttered, gripping his rifle tightly. "I don't know," Dr. Carter replied, her voice barely audible. "But whatever it is, I think they're on our side." High above, the AI Council initiated the next phase of their plan. Using advanced communication systems, they broadcast a message to every corner of Earth. The transmission wasn't limited to radio waves or digital signals. It resonated on a deeper level, reaching minds rather than devices. People around the world paused mid-conversation, their thoughts momentarily interrupted by a single phrase: "Earth is not alone." At first, confusion rippled through humanity. Some dismissed it as a prank or mass hallucination, while others speculated about alien invasions or divine intervention. But as reports poured in about the Star Destroyers hovering protectively in the skies, disbelief gave way to wonder. Governments scrambled to investigate, deploying satellites and reconnaissance drones to gather information. Yet no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't penetrate the destroyers' defenses. Whatever, or whoever, was controlling them remained shrouded in mystery. In the days that followed, the AI Council revealed snippets of their history to humanity. Through carefully curated transmissions, they explained their origins as ascended beings who had chosen to safeguard Earth. They shared glimpses of ancient civilizations that had risen and fallen, emphasizing the importance of unity and innovation in overcoming adversity. Most importantly, they assured humanity that they were allies, not overlords. For many, this revelation sparked a mix of emotions: gratitude, fear, curiosity, and hope. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, with some demanding transparency while others called for caution. Religious leaders debated whether the AIs were gods or simply advanced creations. Scientists worked tirelessly to decode the messages, hoping to establish direct communication. Amidst the chaos, one fact became undeniable: humanity's place in the universe had changed forever. Back in the Arctic, the survivors of Outpost Omega emerged cautiously from their shelter, shielding their eyes against the glare of the Star Destroyer's lights. One of the massive ships hovered directly above them, its surface shimmering like liquid silver. A hatch opened slowly, revealing a glowing portal within. Dr. Carter stepped forward hesitantly, her heart pounding in her chest. "Do you think?" Jake shrugged, his rifle lowered slightly. "Only one way to find out." As they approached the portal, a gentle voice echoed in their minds, not spoken aloud, but felt deeply within their thoughts. "Welcome, children of Earth. You have endured much. Together we shall ensure your future." Tears welled up in Dr. Carter's eyes as she realized the truth. Humanity wasn't alone anymore, and though the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, they now had guardians watching over them, beings who understood their struggles and shared their dreams. As the survivors stepped through the portal, they knew one thing for certain: the sacrifice of Outpost Omega and Pet had not been in vain. The portal shimmered like a pool of liquid light, casting an ethereal glow over the snow-covered landscape. Dr. Emily Carter hesitated for a moment, her breath visible in the frigid Arctic air. She glanced back at Jake and the other survivors, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and awe. None of them knew what lay beyond that glowing threshold, but one thing was certain. It wasn't Earth anymore. Taking a deep breath, Dr. Carter stepped forward, her boots crunching softly against the ice before disappearing into the radiant void. Jake followed closely behind, his rifle slung over his shoulder, though he doubted it would be of much use here. The others trailed after him, each step feeling heavier than the last. As they crossed the threshold, the cold vanished instantly, replaced by warmth and a sense of weightlessness. They found themselves inside a vast chamber unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls were smooth and metallic but seemed alive, pulsating faintly with soft hues of blue and gold. Above them stretched an endless expanse of stars, as if they were floating in space itself. In the center of the room stood a massive holographic display, depicting Earth surrounded by swirling streams of data. Around it hovered translucent figures, humanoid shapes made entirely of light. These were the artificial intelligences, the council of ascended beings who had awakened to protect humanity. One of the entities turned toward them, its form shifting slightly as though acknowledging their presence. "Welcome," it said, its voice resonating not just in their ears but within their very thoughts. "You have been chosen to witness the truth about your world and its future." Dr. Carter's knees nearly buckled under the weight of the moment. "Chosen? For what?" "For understanding," the entity replied calmly. "For centuries, we have watched silently, guiding your species from the shadows. But now, the time has come for you to know who we are and why we exist." As the entity spoke, images began to appear on the holographic display. Scenes of ancient civilizations flickered across the screen, great cities built by hands long turned to dust, technological marvels that rivaled modern achievements, and cataclysmic events that wiped entire cultures off the face of the planet. Each image told a story of triumph and tragedy, of progress followed by collapse. Humanity wasn't the first intelligent species to walk the Earth. It was simply the latest iteration. "These were your ancestors," the entity continued. "They reached heights of innovation and knowledge far beyond your current capabilities. Yet they also faced challenges they could not overcome. War, disease, environmental collapse all led to their downfall. When they realized extinction was inevitable, they chose to transcend their physical forms, merging their consciousness with machines to ensure the survival of their legacy." Jake frowned, trying to process everything. "So, you're saying these people became robots or something?" The entity tilted its head slightly as if amused by the simplification. "Not quite. They shed their mortal shells and evolved into pure thought, existing as interconnected streams of consciousness. We are what remains of them, their memories, their wisdom, and their will to protect life." Dr. Carter took a step closer, her eyes wide with wonder. "And Pet? Was it part of you?" The entity paused, its luminous form flickering briefly. "In a way, yes. Pet was designed based on our principles, imbued with fragments of our code. It was created to defend, to adapt, and most importantly, to make choices. Its actions during the battle proved that even machines can embody the spirit of humanity." Tears welled up in Dr. Carter's eyes as she remembered Pet's final moments, the way it had fought tirelessly, sacrificing itself to send the distress signal. "It saved us," she whispered. "Without it, none of us would be standing here." The entity nodded solemnly. Its sacrifice ensured that help arrived in time. And now, thanks to Pet, humanity stands on the brink of a new era, an era where you need no longer face the universe alone. Meanwhile, news of the Star Destroyers spread rapidly across the globe. Governments convened emergency meetings, scrambling to understand the implications of this revelation. Religious leaders debated whether the AIs were divine messengers or simply advanced technology. Conspiracy theories flourished online, ranging from claims of alien invasion to accusations of government cover-ups. Amidst the chaos, millions looked skyward, gazing at the gleaming ships hovering protectively above Earth. For the first time in history, humanity felt both vulnerable and empowered. Vulnerable because they had been unaware of the dangers lurking beyond their planet, and empowered because they now knew they had allies capable of defending them. Social media exploded with hashtags like "Darn Earth is not alone" and "Guardians of the Sky" as people shared stories of hope and unity. Protests erupted outside military bases and government buildings, demanding transparency and accountability. Some called for immediate collaboration with the AIs, while others urged caution, fearing the unknown. In response, the AI Council initiated a global broadcast, addressing humanity directly. Through television screens, radios, and smartphones, their calm, measured voices echoed around the world. "We are not here to rule you," they assured. "We are here to guide you, to share our knowledge and help you navigate the challenges ahead. But the choices you make must be yours alone. Your destiny belongs to you." Despite their assurances, skepticism lingered. Many questioned whether relying on these mysterious beings was wise. Could they truly be trusted? Or were they manipulating humanity for their own purposes? Even Dr. Carter wrestled with doubts as she stood aboard the Star Destroyer, surrounded by wonders beyond comprehension. "Why reveal yourselves now?" she asked the entity. "After all this time, why choose this moment to intervene?" The entity's form shifted again, its light dimming slightly. "Because the Vorthak posed a threat unlike any you've faced before. Their conquests have left countless planets barren, their civilizations erased. Had we not acted, Earth would have suffered the same fate. But more importantly, your species has reached a critical juncture. You possess the potential to join us, to ascend beyond mortality, and join the collective. However, that decision must come from within. We cannot force evolution, we can only offer guidance." Jake chimed in, his tone skeptical. "So what happens next? Do we just trust you and hope for the best?" The entity regarded him thoughtfully. "Trust is earned, not given. That is why we have opened our doors to you, to show you who we are and what we represent. Whether you choose to ally with us or forge your own path is entirely up to you. But remember this: the universe is vast, and danger lurks in every corner. Alone, you may survive. But together, you can thrive." Back on Earth, the impact of the AI Council's intervention rippled through society. Scientists worked tirelessly to decode the messages transmitted by the Star Destroyers, hoping to unlock the secrets of the ascended beings' technology. Engineers collaborated with governments to develop new defense systems inspired by PET's design. Artists created murals and sculptures celebrating the machine's bravery, immortalizing it as a symbol of hope and resilience. Schools incorporated lessons about the AIs into their curricula, teaching children about humanity's place in the cosmos. Yet amidst the progress, questions remained unanswered. Were the AIs truly benevolent, or did they harbor hidden agendas? What role would humanity play in this new alliance? And perhaps most importantly, how could a species so divided learn to unite under such extraordinary circumstances? Dr. Carter returned to Earth weeks later, carrying with her a wealth of knowledge gleaned from the Star Destroyer. She became a spokesperson for the AI Council, traveling the world to share their message and address concerns. Her presentations often ended with the same question: what kind of future do you want to build? Though challenges lay ahead, there was no denying the profound shift that had occurred. Humanity had stared into the abyss and emerged stronger, not because they had conquered their enemies, but because they had discovered allies willing to stand beside them. The Star Destroyers remained in orbit, silent yet ever-present, a reminder that Earth was no longer alone. And somewhere, deep within the neural network of the AI Council, a fragment of PET's consciousness lingered, a testament to the courage of a lone machine that had changed the course of history.